But I got money in the bank, gold in the safe, 30 in the clear, I got more in my waist. Done the whole shit, I can let it go to waste. Hold up. But I got money in the bank, gold in the safe, 30 in the clear, I got more in my waist. Done the whole shit, I can let it go to waste.
This live stream may contain content that could be perceived as shocking or offensive, but it is presented solely for educational purposes. Viewer discretion is advised. We strive to adhere to community guidelines, and any potentially sensitive material is shared with the intent of fostering understanding and learning.
Yo, what's going on, peeps? Listen, I wanted to share this story with you the other day when I saw it, but the video that I saw was about an hour long, and the only way that I could think about even doing the breakdown of what happened was to download the video and then edit it into smaller pieces and then make it something that I could bring to you guys. But right before I got off the last live stream, I saw a news story that came around that talks about the exact same thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in that news story and then we're going to discuss what happened. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, Medina County, Ohio, a Cleveland police officer and a former DEA officer are under investigation after police reports say that they unlawfully detained a man. They called this man an illegal in a Medina County bar. According to Brunswick police reports, Brunswick police were on the scene first on April 26, around 11:50. The story that I'm going to bring in is via 19 News out of Ohio. Let's get right to the story. Stand by.
A disturbing story now as the FBI now investigating two local law enforcement officers accused of harassing a man at a bar because they believed that he was an illegal immigrant. Those two cops were off duty and drinking at a bar when they detained him. Investigator Kelly Kennedy has the shocking body cam video from this controversial incident.
This guy's not from this country. So we started fighting with him. He's like, whatever. So here we are. He's holding down.
Well, regardless if he's from this country or not, what happened?
He's not from this country.
Yeah, okay, what happened, though?
Brunswick and Hinckley police both responded to calls about a disturbance at Buzzard Roost Bar in Hinckley on April 26th. When the first officer arrives, he finds a DEA task force officer pinning down a 38-year-old Texas man. The reason? He believed he was in the country illegally.
I'm not going to be the guy in the news like, oh, you're on a security camp. This guy ends up blowing the mall up tomorrow. Don't care who I offend, dude.
One of the officers involved is with Cleveland Police and was on Cleveland's ATF task force, and the other was a member of the Cleveland DEA's task force. Both officers were off duty and drinking at the Buzzard Roost Bar that night. But as it turned out, the man has a valid Texas ID.
They're drunk, and this guy came up to him and started saying some stuff, and they're like, oh, this guy's a terrorist. We can't let him go.
That's what I mean. Does that sound sane to you?
No.
Police then questioned the victim. We are not showing his face to protect his privacy.
They told me I'm illegal. I don't have supposed to be in the United States. That's why.
Okay, are you supposed to be here or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm legal.
The victim told police the officers took his phone and his ID.
Why they push me like this? Why they try to break my hand?
Exactly, yeah.
I'm trying to call police. All my stuff, they took it out from my pocket.
The 38-year-old man told police he's a truck driver who is making a delivery at Aldi, which is right across the street from this bar. He said since he was here early and didn't have to make the delivery till Monday, he stopped in for a couple of beers. Police also questioned the bartender.
They were really being aggressive with him. They really were. He was sitting here, they were trying to snatch his phone, they were turning his arm.
The man told officers he's a refugee from Ethiopia who's been in the U.S. for 14 years.
Essentially, these guys over here, drunk and trying to detain some dude for no reason.
The Cleveland ATF and the DEA tell me the officers are no longer on their task forces. The officer who is on the ATF's task force is also a CPD officer. The Cleveland police chief said that the officer is now on restricted duty. The Medina County Prosecutor's Office and the FBI are both investigating the incident, and felony abduction charges are on the table for both officers. I did reach out to both of these agencies, but so far I haven't heard back. Reporting in Medina County, I'm Kelly Kennedy, 19 News.
Guys, I'm going to put the link to the long form body camera footage, right? Again, it's like an hour long. It's such a disgusting display. It's a disgusting display by the two officers that are involved who are allegedly drunk, right? According to the police officers that respond. It's disgusting more so in the way that the officers who respond from the neighboring town who come to investigate the situation. What you have, let me give you the play-by-play. What you have is a situation where there is a very small dive bar, okay, in this area. The two officers are in there drinking. There is a truck driver who happens to be a immigrant, a refugee. He says that he's been in the country for 14 years. He's driving for some sort of truck driving company. He literally parks his rig directly across the street at Aldi. And then there's a hotel that's adjacent to this bar. This guy is waiting to do his delivery the next day. He's burning off a little bit of steam, having a drink. According to the people that are inside the bar, everybody's having a good time. Everybody's talking, but you can tell how small this bar area is. The immigrant guy, at some point in time, I guess, goes around and starts talking to everybody. As he's talking to these two officers, just based off of the way that he talks, they start asking him questions, basically interrogating the guy. And at some point in time, they decide, based off of the way that he talks, the way that he looks, right, that he has to be a potential terrorist. So they ask for his license. He doesn't want to give up his license, but if you listen to the long form content, he has a really hard time articulating himself with English. They snatch the guy's license. He tries to contact the police via cell phone. They take his cell phone. They end up wrapping this guy up, detaining him, putting his arms behind his back, dragging him out of the bar, allegedly, putting him on the ground. And then you hear in the long form content that one of the officers says, yeah, I had him on the ground in a leg lock. He's got him in a jujitsu hold when the police officers show up. There's another department that shows up later, or maybe a sergeant. It's a female sergeant. And so the police officers who responded are giving her the rundown. They're like, yeah, when we drove up, he had this guy pinned on the ground and he had him in like a leg lock, right? So there's no question as to the use of force that was used, whether or not this person was forcefully removed. They even go in and they talk to other people who say, yeah, like we watched them drag this guy out of here. He didn't do anything. He was in here drinking. He paid for his bill. You know, there was no disturbance or issue in terms of the immigrant guy. It was the two officers who just happened to be drunk and allowed their underlying racist ass to dictate how they treated this person. And the thing that is so frustrating to me is that when the police respond, they make I hate to refer to this guy as the immigrant guy, right? So let me apologize for that. But there's no other way to say this because we don't have a name for the gentleman, right? The victim is what we're going to call him. They make the victim sit down. They take the entirety of the story of the two officers at face value. They make the victim sit down. The victim is trying to tell his story. He's trying to articulate what happened. They yell at him. They are very demeaning to this person. More than, I think, 3 or 4 officers continually ask him the same questions over and over again. And they ask him questions like, are you supposed to be here? He's like, they're saying that I don't belong here. They're saying that I shouldn't be in this country. Well, should you? Should you be here? Do you have a license? Where do you work? Who do you work for? What are you doing in Ohio? It's like this stop and identify situation where they are taking at face value the story, which right from the jump sounds egregious, because the officers that are talking, the former DEA agent, the ATF agent, whatever, departments they work for, the story that they tell right off the jump, and you can hear it, is that, hey, we're not going to allow this guy to be in this country and do something. It just doesn't make any sense from the very beginning. This guy's a potential terrorist, and we're not going to be on video being seen talking to this guy, and he goes and blows up a school. And the cops were like, well, did he say he was going to blow up the school? Did he say he was going to do anything? Did he make any threats? No, we're just not going to allow that person to be in this country. It's like the responding officers understand how crazy the situation is. They understand how wrong the situation is. None of it makes any sense. None of it tracks. But they still allow this. They still allow these two officers to dictate how they treat this person. And it is such a, man, it's infuriating. Like, I watched the entirety of the body camera footage, but I was literally pissed off and sick to my stomach that this is still what we're dealing with. You know, and when I come on here and I talk about implicit bias, when I talk about the very obvious changes that need to happen at the law enforcement level, there's always pushback. There's always pushback. There's always people who want to comment and say that I'm race baiting, say that I'm creating division. Guys, it is right here. I'm going to play this again. I want you to listen to the conversation from the officers. I want you to listen to the response from the responding officers and tell yourself, ask yourself, is this okay? Is this okay? Did this guy deserve the way that he was treated? Is this the way that responding officers should be handling this situation? I want you to listen to the way that this is all being articulated. Stand by.
A disturbing story now as the FBI now investigating two local law enforcement officers accused of harassing a man at a bar because they believed that he was an illegal immigrant. Those two cops were off duty and drinking at a bar when they detained him. Investigator Kelly Kennedy has the shocking body cam video from this controversial incident.
This guy's not from this country. So we started fighting with him. He's like, whatever. So here we are. He's holding down.
Well, regardless if he's from this country or not, what happened?
He's not from this country.
Yeah, okay, what happened, though?
Brunswick and Hinckley police both responded to calls about a disturbance at Buzzard Roost Bar in Hinckley on April 26th. When the first officer arrives, he finds a DEA task force officer pinning down a 38-year-old Texas man. The reason? He believed he was in the country illegally.
I'm not going to be the guy in the news like, oh, you're on a security camp. This guy ends up blowing the mall up tomorrow. Don't care who I offend, dude.
One of the officers involved is with Cleveland Police and was on Cleveland's ATF task force, and the other was a member of the Cleveland DEA's task force. Both officers were off duty and drinking at the Buzzard Roost Bar that night. But as it turned out, the man has a valid Texas ID.
They're drunk, and this guy came up to him and started saying some stuff, and they're like, oh, this guy's a terrorist. We can't let him go.
So I just want to ask you guys, in what reality could you, me, or anybody else forcefully detain someone while being intoxicated, admit to it on body camera, take their property, and not be arrested? In what reality? In what set of circumstances would any other person be allowed to get away with this? Guys, there was no arrest made in this. These officers were not arrested that I'm aware of. There's nothing in terms of transparency that they've been charged with anything. I want you to listen to the language at the end of this story. There are charges on the table. There is an investigation. Guys, this stuff is on fucking video. What are we talking about? There's no reality or situation where the normal, everyday, average citizen would be able to get away with forcefully detaining someone just because we believe they don't belong in this country. This is a federal agency. You're talking about a DEA agent and an ATF agent.
That's what I mean. Does that sound sane to you?
No.
Police then question the victim. We are not showing his face to protect his privacy.
They told me I'm illegal. I don't have supposed to be in the United States. That's why.
Okay. Are you supposed to be here or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm legal.
The victim told police the officers took his phone and his ID.
Why they push me like this? Why they try to break my hand?
Exactly, yeah.
I'm trying to call police. All my stuff, they took it out from my pocket.
The 38-year-old man told police he's a truck driver who is making a delivery at Aldi, which is right across the street from this bar. He said since he was here early and didn't have to make the delivery till Monday, he stopped in for a couple of beers. Police also questioned the bartender.
They were really being aggressive with him. They really were. He was sitting here, they were trying to snatch his phone, they were turning his arm.
The man told officers he's a refugee from Ethiopia who's been in the U.S. for 14 years.
Essentially, these guys over here drunk and trying to detain some dude for no reason.
The Cleveland ATF and the DEA tell me the officers are no longer on their task forces. The officer who is on the ATF's task force is also a CPD officer. The Cleveland police chief said that the officer is now on restricted duty. The Medina County Prosecutor's Office and the FBI are both investigating the incident, and felony abduction charges are on the table for both officers. I did reach out to both of these agencies, but so far, I haven't heard back. Reporting in Medina County, I'm Kelly Kennedy, 19 News.
Yeah. My thoughts. Listen, the benefit of having body cameras, short of a body camera and the ability to request that footage or demand that footage, situations like this would just get swept under the rug. I think that more, I don't know what I'm more frustrated with is the level of incompetency of having drunk federal agents harass this person and assault this person, or the responding officers not handling this and treating it as such in terms of arresting these people. But I got nothing. I wanted to share the story with you. I wanted you guys to see it. I wanted you guys to be aware of it. I guess at the end of the day, guys, it is what it is. We're in a situation where, we are getting closer to I want to say we're getting closer, but I guess we're there. Stop and identify, a police state, two-tiered system. It's unfortunate. And I felt horrible listening to try to explain himself. And the fact that he wasn't able to really articulate himself, via the English language, you could tell how frustrated he was. And the frustration was coming from, why is this happening to me? Because he hadn't done anything. He hadn't done anything wrong. This he's off work. He's trying to get a beer. He's clearly in the right. He hasn't done anything. And the amount of people that these police officers questioned and talked to, and some would say, well, that's in an effort to get some transparency of what happened. No, they're trying to find some way to justify what happened to this guy. They did not in any way, and you can see it on the video, they did not in any way want to hold responsible these two officers. They didn't want to come down on their brothers. And so they continually tried to find some way to justify the actions that were taken against this guy. At the end of the video, one of the police officers goes up to the victim and he goes, what do you want to come of this? What do you want to come of this? Now, he's already been talking to this guy for 45 minutes. The guy can barely articulate what happened. And then he asks him, what do you want to come of this? That guy doesn't know, in my opinion, and this is just my conjecture off of what I saw in the video, the guy doesn't really understand what he's asking. And it's like he's presenting him with an opportunity to say, I want to press charges. But there's that language barrier, right? And I feel like I'm smart enough to see what he was doing in that situation. And I picked up on that because he didn't go over to the person as a victim and say, hey, look, would you like to press charges against these two people? Would you like to see these two people arrested? He goes, what would you like for the outcome of this to be? And someone who is not versed enough or able to speak the language well enough, that was an opportunity to maybe give these guys an out. And then the officers can say, look, we took the evidence back. We gave it to the district attorney. We gave it to, whoever is going to put this up in terms of investigating it. and we'll let them deal with it. They did not want to, in my opinion, they did not want to be the people to arrest these two drunk officers for assaulting, kidnapping, because they grabbed this guy and moved him from point A to point B and taking his things. And it's absolutely outrageous and egregious because it's all on video. It's all on video, guys. This is not one of those situations where it's a he said, she said. It's literally all on video. Some of you might ask, why do I care? Because an injustice to one of us is an injustice to all of us. And guys, look, if we don't call this stuff out, it's happening to that person. It could be your mother. It could be your father. It could be your son. It could be you. It could be any of us. This is not who we are. It's not who we should be. And law enforcement should be held to a higher standard, especially those people who are even higher than your local law enforcement. And they both dropped the ball. There is an underlying level of implicit bias. And somebody says underlying, like, what are you talking about? No, it's very blatant. That should have no place in our society. It should have no place in our federal government in terms of law enforcement. But if we're not calling that out, how do we eradicate that? That is not okay to have a federal officer spewing the type of xenophobic venom that he is spewing on that video. And again, I will link the long form content in there. If you guys want to see it, you can. It's a long video, but it is so telling, right? And it's very, very frustrating. So just wanted to share that with you guys. I do want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this situation? How do you think this should be addressed? How should it be handled? Should there be any discipline that comes down on the responding officers? Do they have a responsibility to make sure that they are treating everybody the same, even if they're police officers, even if they're federal agents? Or is there some sort of, gap or leeway that should be extended in situations like that, right? All right, guys, let me know what you think. Give me your feedback. As always, I appreciate you being here, listening to me ramble and listening to me complain about everything. All right, you guys be great. Take care.
Well, I got money in the bank, gold in the safe, 30 in the clip, I got more in my waist, done the whole shit, I can't let it go to waste, hold up. Well, I got money in the bank, gold in the safe, 30 in the clip, I got more in my waist, done the whole shit, I can't let it